Let's get ready to rumble!
Tuned into Sean Porter's podcast for a bit, and he said there's people telling him that he's still got some left in the tank and they'd like to see him carry on. And they have a point, but you know, to me, if Sean had dreamed of how his career was going to end, I don't think it could have ended as well as it has done. Like, he's fought everybody from his generation apart from Floyd and Pacquiao. Got wins over the likes of Broner, Danny Garcia, Paulie Malignaggi, Devin Alexander. He's lost to the likes of Brook, Thurman, Spence and Crawford. Two-time welterweight champion, 34 years of age. And he said he's going into acting. He's always wanted to act, and he's got an upcoming role where he plays a convict boxer. That sounds interesting. I think he'll do well at it as well. I think he's got the application to make it work. It's panned out excellent for him, you know, at 34, being able to have the financial stability to try new things, acting, and whatever he likes, basically. Wilder, unlike Sean, to me, he's left a lot of food on the table. He also told me, when I interviewed him years back, that he wanted to act as well, coincidentally. Sean attempted to unify belts. Wilder never tried that. So all that one face, one name, one champion, unless he's really physically, forget mental, you know, because I think people can only clutch at straws when they're talking about mental scarring of fighters. We don't really know how deep certain fighters are mentally scarred. We're just clutching at straws. There's a lot of debates on how psychologically damaged fighters are, but sometimes I don't even think they know unless they take some serious therapy or whatever. But if you have a clinical synopsis, diagnosis that you're physically injured, then you're physically injured. There's only so much you'll be able to do. I don't see how he's not going to regret retiring, Wilder. And he's roughly the same age as Sean, maybe a year or a few months older. I didn't realise that Michael SORO and MADRIMOV was on the zone. Now, I caught the fight late, just as the controversy was approaching. I haven't watched all the early rounds, which they're saying that SORO was boxing very well. And look, the referee messed up. He did mess up. Either the referee messed up or did the bell ring. Maybe the timekeeper didn't ring the bell. I'm not too sure. But any way you want to slice it and dice it, Michael SORO didn't know if the bell had rung or not. In fact, he had got his own bell rung, and he was more preoccupied with that. The truth is, let's say the timekeeper told the referee, yo, stop the round, it's going on too long. And they stopped the round, and let's say SORO wasn't in bad trouble or hadn't been stopped. Would they be saying, yo, referee, you need to run the 9th round again from the start? No, it would just go in the record books that the 9th round went on a little too long. Just like when Greg Page fought Jerry Courtzia. The 8th round went into the 4th minute when Greg Page knocked out Courtzia to take his WBA heavyweight title. Well, you think Courtzia knew he was fighting into the 4th minute? No. He was too preoccupied defending himself and trying to win the fight and got knocked out. You think Greg Page knew? No, he was trying to win the title away from home in South Africa. Now, the announcer was a right prick. Hello, everybody! Who wants to know who won the fight? Because it went on for a little while they were trying to decide whether the fight was going to carry on or be recorded as a stoppage. And, you know, it's quite a serious moment, like, for SORO and MADRIMOV. And you would have thought he would have had a more deadpan delivery. But he sounded like a right idiot. If you want to know who won, say yes! What is this? What, you think this is your opportunity to start some Eminem rap career or something? What's going on? Now, the punters, I think there's a few disgruntled punters who took that crafty little bet with SORO, because from what I hear, SORO was good odds for a punt. And that's what a lot of gamblers went for, and they came up a little short. So I understand why they're pissed, and so would I be. I wonder if some of Tyson Fury's boxer friends actually realize Tyson Fury is a 6'9" heavyweight, an anomaly who can coordinate himself pretty well for a man that size, has good dexterity, and as much as I critique him, I'd be stupid to deny his obvious talents. Does Joseph Parker realize that he is Tyson Fury? You know, like, he said he's soaking in Tyson Fury and Andy Lee, and he's moved to Manchester. And he said it's hard not to be inspired by Tyson Fury. Inspired is totally different from trying to be like. And it looks like he's going to try and bully Derek Chisora tomorrow, because he's coming 10 pounds heavier than he did last time out. Let's understand, Joseph Parker has never came in that weight. Never. He's been as low as 219, 226, very early in his career, admittedly. And he looked fat on the scale. He looked fat. Now, let me tell you from the rip, he's going to get outworked by Derek Chisora. He's going to get outworked. Since 2018, when he fought an absolute terrible opponent, right? Alexander Flores, right? He lost to Dillian White earlier that year as well. He's had 4 fights. Alex Leopai struggled in that. Not struggled, but laboured. Laboured is the correct phrasing. Didn't look too good in the Shaundale Winters fight. Didn't look that great, but he got the job done and stopped him. A lot of people think Junior Farr beat him. I think Joseph won it. But people weren't impressed. And a lot of people thought he lost to Derek Chisora. He hasn't had that many fights in the last few years. Am I to believe that his fitness is going to be exactly where it needs to be to outwork Derek Chisora at 251 with all that inactivity, and he's aging and he's not used to fighting at that weight? You see, he's probably sort of Tyson Fury bulked up to beat Wilder in both fights. He was even heavier than he was in the second fight, wasn't he, Tyson Fury? So he's seen that and he says, yeah, well, if Tyson can do it, I'm Tyson Fury too. Because that's how simplistic I believe Joseph is. Not being funny, he's too sycophantic. Now, listen, it may work for him. It may work for him. But Derek is used to bullying guys like David Price, 264 around. Bullying him around the ring. Dillian was 246 when Dillian knocked him out. But, you know, Derek was probably ahead on the scorecards. Kubrat Pulev had him outweighed by 8 pounds. Split decision loss. Tyson Fury was 264 when he fought him in 2014. And yeah, he got dominated in that one. But Tyson Fury is not Joseph Parker. You know, Klitschko. When Klitschko beat him in 2012, Klitschko came in at 243. And he's a way bigger guy than Joseph. Naturally bigger. Helenius, he's naturally bigger than Joseph Parker. He weighed in 139. 239, I should say. Derek's came in at heavyweights himself, like he came in at 260 for some reason in the first Tyson Fury fight, way heavier than he previously had weighed in his career. I think he was injured in prep for that and he couldn't get the weight down. But Derek's used to that. Listen, if he believes the bulk is going to stop Derek just walking into him, it's not. Parker is not used to fighting that fight. Now, if Andy Lee can turn him into this guy who walks Derek back, then I'll be shocked as anything. But it wasn't weight why he performed so badly last time out. Because before the fight barely got off the ground, Derek caught him with that overhand right. That wasn't because he was heavier than Joseph Parker. He beat him to the punch. And Joseph needs to beat Derek to the punch. And then use his feet and get out of Derek's way. But if this weight starts bogging him down after Derek brings the attrition to him, how's he going to be beating Derek to the punch? Derek's going to be the quicker guy. We spoke many times how well Derek performed against Usyk. Don't get me wrong. I wanted Derek to win, but I'm not here like some people saying Derek won the fight. Derek didn't win. Usyk pulled it out. But I think even Usyk was shocked. Hey, Derek, quick. Derek's not slow. I think he's made a mistake here, a big mistake. But if I'm proven wrong, I'll be here giving him his credit. I picked Derek by either knockout or points. And I'm feeling more confident about it now. I don't think he should be bulking up to the size Joseph Parker. He doesn't have the leverage to carry that weight. What's his reach? 76. You see, either he's influenced by Tyson Fury or he just can't be bothered to train. One of the two. Yeah? Derek has fought a variety of opponents. Some tall and heavy, some short and squat and heavy. When do you see Derek getting pushed onto the back foot? Only time you see Derek pushed onto the back foot is when he voluntarily goes on the back foot because he's a little tired, because he hasn't put his all into his training camp. But that's about it. I was looking at Derek on the scales. He's lighter than he was last time against Parker. He's 248, 2.5 pounds lighter. So Vitaly Klitschko couldn't back Derek Chisora up, but Joseph Parker's going to back him up. I mean, theoretically, Joseph Parker has neutralized his biggest weapon to use against Derek Chisora, and that's speed. How fast is he going to be at 251? 10 pounds heavier than the last fight. He didn't look that fast in that fight. Derek was beating him to the punch all fucking evening. Since that knockout victory over Carlos Takam in 2018, Derek's fought the better opposition. He's fought more, 6 times in the last 3 to 4 years. Joseph's fought 5 times, but we can throw out Flores and Leopai and Winters as any real tests. If this goes wrong, this guy could be on the scrap heap after this fight here. If this was deliberate, the only thing I can think is that they weren't happy with how Joseph dealt with Derek's physical presence, having him pinned up on the ropes and on the back foot for lengthy periods of the fight. So this is the prerequisite. They're coming with bulk. Sometimes it is the lesser of two evils. We either fight fire with fire and try and match Derek's physicality, or we try to move. But Joe's been inactive and he's not in his mid-20s anymore. So moving around the ring like that, for a lot of heavyweights, no longer becomes an option. Like Tyson Fury, we're never going to see that 2018 Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder again. We're never going to see that guy again for the rest of his career. I don't believe so. But he's proved he can fight a few ways. Let's see if Joe can fight Derek Chisora his own game tomorrow. Let's see. Makes it very interesting. I think Danny Jacobs could have been competitive against Joe Smith Jr., but I prefer this fight for him here against John Ryder. A 12-round super middleweight contest in London O2 Arena. It's one of the potential venues for a main event that the Zone will stream. It's difficult to tell people that John Ryder is a pretty good fighter when he's lost to the likes of Jack Arnfield, Rocky Fielding. And no, he can't beat the likes of a Canelo John Ryder. No, he couldn't. But he is a decent fighter. He is a decent fighter. Decent enough for this to be a risky fight for Danny Jacobs, especially in the UK. Danny Jacobs has got a lot to lose here. He's got a number 3 ranking with the WBC, a number 5 ranking with the WBA, just behind John Ryder in number 3 there. He's ranked number 2 with the WBO. Ryder's ranked number 14 with the WBO. So he's got a lot to lose. And what I commend Danny Jacobs for is that he's prepared to get on a plane and risk, potential hometown cooking with them scorecards. He's getting paid very well. And he wants back in, like Ryder, he's got a number 3 ranking with the WBA, number 11 with the WBC. And this will put Danny in good standing. And it will put John Ryder in good standing if he can pull off the win. Now, Danny didn't look as sharp as we've seen him against Saul Alvarez. And some people critiqued his performance against Julio Cesar Chavez, but to me it looked like an easy win. I don't know what they wanted Danny to do. Chavez quit. And the Gabriel Rosado fight, he got a little lucky getting that split decision in most people's eyes. Wasn't a great fight to look at. He might not be at his best at the higher weight of 168. Danny is now 34 years of age. And John Ryder is no spring chicken, he's 33, but you do wonder about the timing of this fight. I would argue that, looking at the Cannon Smith performance, that Ryder is in the form of his career, and perhaps Danny's best days are behind him. Plus, this weight class is still relatively new to him. Could it be just good timing for John Ryder to get this fight now? Would you consider it an upset? And if so, how big an upset? Or are there levels that need to be respected here? I mean, Ryder's never fought the likes of Canelo, a Triple G, who some people would argue that Jacobs beats. Is John out of his depth? You see, all the crap that Leonard has brought to his promotional company is affecting everyday business, the running of everyday business. Leonard is blocking people off Twitter, arguing this and that for Tank. You're wasting too much energy in damage control for Tank. Wasting way too much. Now, if you don't agree with the paying customer, so be it. Do what you're going to do. But don't be arguing with the paying customer that they've got to fork money out. You know what I mean? Like, the technology is there for people to illegally stream fights, whether anyone likes it or not. And there are some people, even if it was a really good fight, a career-defining legacy fight, they'd still stream it. Now, some of them, they might do that because they can't afford it. And, it's illegal, but what do you want me to say? They can't afford it. They're going to watch the fight somehow, some way or the other. And there's some people who are just outlaws. Even if they got enough disposable income, they won't pay for it. But is Tank the only fighter they have on TMT? All this damage control for Tank? What about the rest of the fighters? What about this Richardson Hitchins kid? He's fighting tomorrow. How much column space or social media time has Leonard or Floyd given to him? He's fighting tomorrow on the Dave Morrell Atlantis Fox undercard, which is for the... So let me get this right to the WBA. You said you were cleaning up the belt situation, but they're fighting for the WBA World Super Middleweight title. How is Atlantis Fox fighting for the WBA World Super Middleweight title? Atlantis Fox. The last time I saw Atlantis Fox, he was getting ironed out in the UK by Liam Williams. He's had 3 fights since then, 1 no contest. Then a points win over somebody who was 14-3-1, Marcus Hernandez. And the latest fight, a few months back, Manny Woods, was 17-11-1. And this qualifies him for a world title shot? Doesn't Canelo have all the belts? Is that the interim strap that John Ryder had? All the attention that's gone into Tank's low numbers and Floyd and Leonard's damage control all week has left kids like Richardson Hitchins out in the cold. He is a TMT fighter. What did I say just a few days back in one of the weeklies? Are they putting too much pressure on Tank? Tank. What about the other fighters? Don't they deserve some promotion as well? Put some pressure on them. I'm sure they'd like some of the pressure. But yeah, the main event for that card, like Dave Morrell has had how much fights? 5 fights. And Atlantis Fox's last fight that meant anything, he was destroyed. This is the same organization who is making Ugas fight 2 eliminators to keep the strap. But yet, Morrell and Fox are battling it out at 168 for an interim shot that neither of them deserve. Who needs ELLERBE anyway? Richardson decided to take promotion of his fight into his own hands and pushed his opponent in the throat. Handbags went off for a few minutes and order was restored.